Hello, it's Lucie at Commit to Self. What I'd like to talk to you about today is monitoring. What is monitoring? Monitoring is a way of keeping track of what you're doing with your weight loss program. You can also label it journaling. I want to tell you a story to emphasize why it's so important to monitor. I was working with a coaching client who was, even though she was on track with her program, she was gaining weight. And my sense that something was going on that just wasn't fitting up if she was truly sticking to the calories in, calories out plan that she was focusing on. So I asked her if she would be willing to monitor a very specific way, and that's what I want to teach you about today. This type of monitoring I've labeled behavioral monitoring. You're not only keeping track of what you're eating, you're also writing down where you're located, what the situation is, your emotions, and whether or not you're hungry. And she was willing to do this. I did emphatically ask her to please be honest with this, otherwise it won't help you. Monitoring is a little, I just want to mention real quickly, if you're going to monitor and do any kind of journaling, you have to be honest. Otherwise, it's not helping you at all. So the story with this woman is, as she finally confessed to me, is that every day on her way home from work, she was going through one of the favorite fast food restaurants, I'm not going to mention names, and eating essentially a fourth meal of the day. This was not helping her weight loss. The situation was that every day she would go to school. She was a teacher. She'd begin her day at 6:30 in the morning teaching elementary school children. She had her lunch break at 10:30 a.m. Now this essentially was not truly a lunch break. It consisted of her eating a sandwich, eating what she brought from home, but sitting at her desk and doing schoolwork to prepare for the rest of the day. It wasn't truly a break. She would get to her car after the day at school around 2:30. Her feelings were anger. She told me she was not hungry, she was extremely tired, and she was going home to her own children, who were also coming in the door at the same time. They coincidentally were the same age as the children she was teaching. As she was telling me the story, I said, okay, you've given me several different things that I'd like to discuss with you. The first I want to focus on is that feeling of tiredness. I don't know if any of you are aware, but when our body truly is hungry, our blood sugars may dip. And when our blood sugars dip, we may feel tired. It also is a form of hunger. So when I presented this to her, she thought about it and said, I guess that's a possibility. What should I do? And I said, well, why don't we try something? Instead of going through the fast food location, would you be willing to get a little cooler, leave it in your car, put maybe an apple, a string cheese, and some high fiber crackers in it, and that would be your snack when you got in the car. She agreed to do this because even though she loved the fast food, she also knew it was sabotaging her desire to lose weight. It wasn't helping her at all. Her situation, as I mentioned, was that she was going home to school-age children, and she was angry. When I just asked what was she angry about, she said, well, I'm a teacher, and I have to go home, and we have to do their homework, and I have to ask how their day was. I have no time for myself. And that frustrates me. I mentioned gently, acknowledge that, yes, you are a teacher in the day, that's your career, but when you go home to your family, you're no longer a teacher, you're now a mother, and perhaps you're having a problem switching roles. She thought about it and said that's probably true. So in terms of brainstorming with her what to do about that situation, I asked her if she had to go home the same time as her children. She was adamant that, yeah, she did not want her kids coming home to an empty home. Then the next question was the idea of having to do homework right away. And I said, you know, do you have to start in and doing homework? She said, well, I don't want my kids to feel that I don't care about them. I said, this sounds like maybe a discussion you should have with your kids. She discussed this with her kids and found out that they dreaded coming home because they knew she was angry. They felt that she was angry at them. She was surprised by that. She had no idea that they were reacting or even feeling and picking up on her emotions. She then talked to them about not necessarily doing homework right away. Surprise, surprise, they were thrilled to death. They didn't want to come home after a whole day at school and have to focus in on homework. They needed to have time to be kids. So this sort of tackled the family issue that could have gotten out of control as these children got older and maybe started rebelling. So the plan that she ended up with was, number one, to be at school at 6:30, have that snack waiting in her car at 2:30, eating it before she started driving, getting home with the kids, greeting each other, hugging, kissing, whatever, She had the time to go off and do whatever she wanted to do, read a book, relax, take a walk, take a warm bath. The kids were able to come home and play, and they'd get together as a family perhaps 2 hours later and eat dinner together and then do their homework. This truly helped solve the whole issue of eating at the fast food restaurant. The reason I wanted to tell you this story is she would not have identified any of the issues, any of the emotions she was feeling, what her situation was, if she wasn't willing to monitor those aspects. So I really urge each one of you to think about how you can do this research on yourself, because that's truly what it is. We talk about emotional eating, we talk about all the other issues of how to stick to a certain amount of calories, how to exercise, and that's very, very important. But unless we can truly identify the triggers, what's going on that pushes your buttons, how do you respond when those buttons are pushed, unless you really come into an awareness of the behavioral aspects of your life, then making that lifestyle change consistent is probably not going to be able to be achieved. If you have any questions about this or want to discuss it more or share your stories with me, please email me at Lucie@CommitToSelf. And have a great day.